Rev up your engines!
Well, here's one for you Ford fans. Ford is now making a Ford Ranger Thunder that has a Raptor engine in it, but they're only selling them in Europe. They're not selling in the United States. An interesting one where you can buy a fancy souped-up Ford Ranger in Europe, but not in the United States yet. They're only making 4,500 of them in Europe. Upsized Ranger, it's got the 4 doors, it's all set up with the Raptor, with the red and black, the cool leather stitching inside. They're only selling them in Europe as it stands now. One of the reasons that I figured out they're only selling in Europe is because it's set up for Europe. This isn't like the Raptor trucks in the United States, where they're almost all big old monster V8s in the Ford Raptors here. A 2-liter diesel engine. It only puts out 210 horsepower, but it puts out 369 pound-feet of torque. You get a gasoline engine to get 369 pound-foot of torque, you generally need 369 horsepower. This does it with 210 because it's a diesel engine. They have a lot more torque. This thing is set up for the European market because Americans, they're not that in love with diesels, especially smaller diesel engines. But they're selling it in Europe. Maybe they'll end up bringing it to the United States and put a V8 engine in it. But they seem to be going to those V6 engines. But that's not the thing about the Raptor. The Raptor is that it's a V8. Here in the United States, people don't accept it as a V6. The guys that really want them with V8s. But even if you're in Europe, you're still going to have to wait until late summer till they're actually selling these things. They're going to be building them, but with the virus epidemic, everything is kind of behind the time. But they'll be selling them in Europe, so if you're looking for a diesel Ranger pickup in a Raptor form, well, 4,500 of you in Europe can go out and buy one. Can't get in the United States yet, but like I said, it is a diesel engine. They're not that popular in the United States. Million Meyer 24 says, Scotty, big fan. I recently got a 2019 F-150 4x4 with a 2.7 liter EcoBoost V6. It's a good truck. I have a case of buyer's remorse since getting it. I wanted the 5 liter V8, but they could only get me approved for the V6. Did I make a mistake? Maybe get a Tundra before Toyota screws them up with GDI turbocharged V6s? I would if I were you, if you want to keep them forever. There's a reason they only approved you for that V6, because they sell the V8s. They're very popular. They're now having a problem selling a lot of the V6s because a lot of people listen to me and I say you don't want a smaller engine that has 2 turbochargers and GDI. It's going to wear out faster. End of story. It doesn't matter who makes them, they're going to wear out faster if they have GDI and turbocharged. Even with Honda, the Honda GDI turbocharged engines and those 1.5 liter Earth Dreams, they have a problem with oil dilution. The engines are getting wear problem. The Hondas that have the 2 liter non-turbo GDIs, they don't have a problem. The older Hondas that had a turbo but not GDI systems, they don't have a problem either. When you combine those two systems, too much wear as far as I'm concerned. If I were you, I'd go Toyota, drive the thing forever. I'm not a fan of GDI turbocharged engines if you want long life. Calls Andy, says, Scotty, I'm thinking about buying a 2015 Ford Focus with a manual transmission for $7,500. Do you think it's a good deal? Well, you know, there were horrible vehicles with those dual clutch transmissions that they have to recall. They're buying them back, so that you'd never want to buy. At least it's a manual transmission. But $7,500, crappy deal. Those are cheaply made vehicles. The engine, everything under the hood is made out of plastic. Gets old, it cracks. If you want something to get around with, off from $3-4 grand for the car tops. That's all it's worth. It can last a while, but it's going to nitpick you as it gets old. All the plastic crap's going to start to break. At least it's got the good transmission. But you didn't mention the mileage. Now let's say that it's got more than 100,000 miles. If it does, off from $2-3 grand tops for the vehicle. I mean, okay, knock around car, but not everyday standard transportation. All my customers that had those, as they aged, they fell apart and they didn't end up liking them. But at least it's a standard, so it would last a lot longer than the dual clutch automatic transmission junker that they put in them. Larry, quite contrary, says I got a 2006 BMW X5. It failed my smog test in California because it's running lean. Help. All right, well, I've warned people all the time about these BMWs with all the plastic crap on them. Well, that thing, the intake system's all plastic and it's got rubber vacuum lines everywhere going on the plastic. There's nothing you should do other than start at the basics. Get a smoke machine hooked up to it. It blows smoke in the intake, and wherever you see the smoke leaking out, you got to fix it. I've seen vacuum lines just just get brittle and fall off, but I've seen the manifolds crack, the intake manifold gaskets crack and leak. It might be leaking in 10 different places because it's so old. You got a BMW that's, 14 years old. The stuff is just going to be cracked and leaking. You're best to put a smoke leak detector on it first. Now, I mean, you can use your eyes and maybe you'll get lucky and a big vacuum line just rotted and fell off. You can see that. Check that, of course. But to be on the safe side with one of those things, you got to inject smoke in it because it might be leaking in 5 or 6 different places. At that age, those things are rolling piles of plastic junk, and they'll just keep breaking. Even if you fix them all now, next year probably something else will crack, and then it'll still fail because then it'll be sucking air somewhere else. And pray you don't need a new intake manifold gasket because pulling those intakes off is going to cost you over 1,000 bills on that BMW. Fast Daddy 97 says I got a 2007 Toyota Corolla. It won't crank, it won't start. I do check that starter relay and it doesn't get any power. I tried an ignition switch, but that didn't fix it. Help. Now, I don't know if you're the original owner or not. It's a pretty old vehicle. Maybe you aren't. If you aren't, I have only seen that in ones that people have messed with. Like they added an anti-theft system or they added a fancy stereo system and they messed the wiring up. It could theoretically be your main computer. The PCM is going bad. But that's extremely rare in a Toyota Corolla. I have never had to replace a computer in a Toyota Corolla. So it's a pretty rare thing. I work on a lot of Toyotas. Take all the under dash stuff apart in the steering column plastic and look. And odds are you're going to see spliced wires all over the place. Somebody's messed with it. And if that's the case, they're all color-coded. So if you see where there's frayed wiring, cut it and then splice them together. Solder the ends, get that heat shrink tape stuff that you wrap around and then heat it up and it shrinks. And fix it, because every time on those, when I saw a problem like that, and it wasn't obvious, it was the wiring because somebody had messed with it. Toyota wiring's pretty much bulletproof. I never see it go bad by itself. Check to see if somebody's messed with it, and the wiring's messed up, especially if you're not the original owner. Astronut says, hey Scotty, they come up with a new oil for GDI engines. Should I use it in my 212 Mazda Sky Active? I watched your video. What do you think? Yeah, they're just coming out with it. Now, what you want to do is, you want to get the oil that's the same weight. The absolute fanciest one is 0W16. Now, yours might not be set up for that. Yours is probably 0W20. And they're going to make a 0W20 GS6 too. Some places don't have that yet, so you might wait, because you want to use the same weight as yours was set up for. A lot of the new ones are set up for 016, so if yours is 020 and it's not out yet, wait until it comes out, then use it. Laura Lee 20 says, I got a 02 Jeep Cherokee. It idles too high to check engine lights on, and it's got P0505, idle air system malfunction. Maybe old, but still, it's all computer run. You might just try a new idle air, get that, put it on. Pray it's that. But sadly, from my experience, those are pretty robust. They don't break all that often. More often, the main computer goes bad, the powertrain control module. But what the heck? Try the sensor first, because if it fixes it, great. If not, you got that code, there's a problem in the system. Often it's the computer, the PCM, powertrain control module, and you're going to have to replace that and have it reprogrammed to fit the car. It won't start if you put a new one in. It all has to be reprogrammed. And all Chrysler products are known for having crappy computers, that one especially. But what the heck, try the sensor. They don't cost much. You can just screw them on and off and pray that fixes it. From my experience, when that old, it's almost always the powertrain control module. Check the wires. Maybe you got a loose wire going from it. Corroded wire, could happen too. But from my experience, it's almost always the powertrain control module, the main computer, that breaks down and does that. Or if it runs okay otherwise, you could just live with it. If it only does it at idle. Seth 6666 says, Scotty, what do you think of the Haynes manuals? Are they worth it? I got a video on that. Mr. Haynes recently died. He's an Englishman, and he was a fanatic about buying a car, taking it completely apart, having a photographer take all the pictures, which of course he originally did. His son runs the thing now, maybe even his grandson. That's one of the relatives. Those are excellent manuals, those Haynes manuals, especially for do-it-yourselfers. They get an actual car, they take it all apart, and they have great pictures. It isn't just some generic picture saying stuff like, take it apart. Assembly is reverse of removal. They aren't like that. They are excellent manuals, the Haynes manual. And they're online too. You can get them online now. Used to be just books. You can also get them online now. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.